the Philadelphia Eagles, who are back in the race in the NFC playoff bracket. And here is longtime Eagles fan, Tom Rader. Tom, thank you for being on the podcast. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this.
No, thanks so much for having me. Go Birds.
So, Tom, how did you become an Eagles fan, and what has been the attraction to the Eagles?
Like most people, it was just a family thing. My dad is a huge Eagles and also a huge Notre Dame football fan. So it was just Saturdays watching Notre Dame with me, my brother, my dad, and my mom, and then Sundays watching the Eagles. And it was always like, my dad's mood the rest of the week would be determined by whether or not Notre Dame and the Philadelphia Eagles won over the weekend. So it became attached to that with my dad. And we've been fans ever since. I mean, I can remember my parents would take us down to games at the Vet. And that was always an interesting experience, especially for rivalry games. And just as a kid, seeing adults having a couple sodas and getting a little rowdy, Eagles fans have that reputation. Just being a Philly sports fan in general, as well as the Phillies and Sixers and Flyers. But that's where it really started for me, through watching it and experiencing it through my father's eyes.
In your mind, what is the biggest moment as an Eagles fan? I'm assuming it's going to always be, until it changes, the Super Bowl win over the Patriots.
Just unbelievable. You got it exactly right. It was just so unexpected, and Philly fans, we've suffered for a long time. And just that night, it was like a holiday. That's how I remember it in my mind. It's like a favorite Christmas or a favorite Easter or what have you. And I remember going down, me and my mom and my dad went down to watch the game at my brother and sister-in-law's place in Carlisle, and just watching that game. And I remember crying at the end of it, and we popped a bottle of champagne, and it was just this huge experience. And I didn't know if I'd get to see that in my lifetime, and I want to see another one. Now that you get it, you get greedy for it. And I'm hoping I get to see one for my Notre Dame Fighting Irish as well, but it won't be this year. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite, most important memory. And like I said, I look back at it's that Super Bowl win was like a holiday for me as a football fan.
Going into the season, what were the expectations? I know gone is Doug Peterson after the 4-11-1 season last year, and in comes Nick Sirianni. Gone is Carson Wentz to Indianapolis, and now it's Jalen Hurts taking the reins. What were you hoping that the Eagles could do this season, and what were your optimistic expectations for what they could do?
My memories of the end of last year were of Jalen Hurts just being able to improvise, and you saw these flashes of greatness that he had. And so I know, we didn't have the end result we wanted last season, but I came into this season thinking, what? I think it's going to be a rebuilding year. I wasn't too happy with them getting rid of Doug Peterson. I really liked him. And so coming into this season, my expectations were solidly, okay, this is going to be a rebuilding year, a young quarterback, a new coach. And I didn't really like Nick Sirianni at the beginning of the season. I didn't like the way he communicated, how he was in press conferences. And I was listening to sports talk radio in the Philly area just yesterday, and the host on, I think it was WIP, he was talking about how much Nick Sirianni has grown as a coach. And I would totally agree with that. I think he has grown a lot as a coach, and he's turned what we all thought was going to be rebuilding year, strictly that, into now look where we're at now. We beat the Giants yesterday. We're in the playoff picture, here heading into the end of the year. So that's where every fan wants to be.
And initially there was all this talk of once Wentz was gone, then Joe Flacco came in, and there was all these questions whether Flacco was going to be there to mentor Hurts or if Flacco was going to be there to get a shot to start, because the Joe Flacco of this year is not the Joe Flacco of at least 10, 12 years ago. So I know there was probably some questions whether he's just going to be there as an insurance policy, or he was going to be there to take the reins, or he's just there for mentorship.
Oh yeah, no. And you mentioned, and this is how much turnover there is in the league. I totally forgot that he was a backup quarterback for a second, because Gardner Minshew's in there. But yeah, with Flacco, I've always felt with him, after he won a Super Bowl, he's a pilot. But I think he got what he wanted. Then he got the big contract, and now, he's, like you said, just kind of in that backup vet who's going to ride the bench and just kind of be there when you need him. But yeah, that was kind of odd how that happened. And then, with this game that Gardner Minshew, against the Jets, and everybody's like, oh, quarterback controversy. I didn't really see it that way. I don't think one game, especially against the New York Jets, is a good litmus test for our quarterback. So, but I do feel very confident with him in that backup spot. My dad, he doesn't think Jalen Hurts is the guy. I don't think we've seen enough of a litmus test with either quarterback to see where we're going. I think there's more that can be done with Jalen and with Devontae Smith. So I definitely think there's more avenues there. We got to give everybody on this team more time, including the head coach.
Was there a particular game or moment this season that you were optimistic about how well the Eagles would fare?
Yeah, it's really just been these last couple of games, and I just didn't really think we'd still be in the mix. So I'd take it all the way back to just yesterday. That game started off so slowly and bad performances really on both sides, the Birds and the Giants. And everybody said, okay, well, we had that game postponed, right? We had to play Tuesday, which was weird. And I mean, these guys are pro athletes. They need the allotted amount of days in between games. So I think that really impacted the Eagles and the Giants yesterday. And I think that's why things got off to such a slow start. But yeah, I mean, this team has been week to week. So I think my answer would be was the most recent week. And that was just this game against the Giants.
Was there a particular game on the schedule that made you think, well, it is just a rebuild and there's plenty you can take from it, but any thoughts of postseason this year were going to be a bit out of hand? Was it that Giants loss early on? Was it the loss to the Chargers? Was there anything in particular that made you think, okay, wait till next year?
Yeah, and it was the 2-5 start, and it was also I really I was a big Zach Ertz fan, and I didn't like them getting rid of him, and I actually the week before that happened, I was telling you about my friend Barry Vagnoni, who's a Eagles super fan. And he has this man cave, this Eagles man cave in the Reading area. And we were actually watching the game with Zach's dad and his mom. They were there with us. And you kind of got the sense that they were going to make some moves there. And he was going to be out the door. I really liked him as a player and as a person. I thought he was a good representative of the team. So that was a turning point for me where I'm thinking, man, they're making some front office moves that are a bit concerning. So I would probably put that as a point where it was like, yeah, I think I was right. This was a rebuilding year. Let's just get to the end of the season, hope nobody gets too significantly hurt, and take it from there.
Looking at the playoff brackets and the chance that the Eagles make it in, who do you feel like the Eagles match up the best with in the NFC playoffs?
Initially, I was thinking about that question, the Vikings. But I mean, there's so much parity in the league this season. You have a team that seems like world beaters one Sunday and then not the next. And I mean, even as I was mentioning fantasy football, like there was a point with my work fantasy football league where there was like an 8-way tie for second because these teams were just so close. The Vikings, I know we've seen them in that postseason before. I'd probably go with them at this point, I think.
Going on the other side of the coin, who as an Eagles fan, what team scares you in the NFC right now in the bracket? Is it Dallas? Is it San Francisco? Is it Green Bay? Is it the Rams? Who else? Could it even be the Cardinals who are slipping a bit?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is always scary. They're a rival. They're the best team in the division. And that NFC East is always, every year, it's like sometimes it's a matter of, okay, who doesn't want to go to the playoffs the most? And everybody's playing terribly. But San Francisco, I think I would probably put them maybe above the Cowboys in a sense. They've always been kind of a rival too when it comes to the postseason, but they're scary to me. I would want to stay out of them, and maybe close behind that would be the Cowboys.
What would you say has been the key to the Eagles' success so far this season, especially like you said, after the rough start and being able to turn things around and win 7 out of the last 9?
The play calling. I mean, the season started out. Like I said, we left last year with, okay, we got a quarterback who's mobile, a play breaks down, Jalen can run, he can get us a first down. But I think Sirianni realized, and especially with Miles Sanders, who now is getting x-rays on his hand, I haven't seen the latest reports on that, which is disconcerting because we're definitely going to need him. But we decided to run the football. We realized that we need to be running the football more. I heard a stat concerning Miles Sanders where just his amount of carries from the first couple of games And I think Sirianni realized we need to start running the football, have a more balanced attack. So I think it's when, from a play calling standpoint, they decided to do that, to start to run the football and sort of build the offense off of that rather than the direction that they were going initially. And I still think, I mean, you look at Devontae Smith, and just as he used to be the enemy to me because he was on Alabama. I'm a big Notre Dame fan, and Devontae Smith last season in the college football playoff made us look silly. Devontae could be on any part of the football field. They're going to get him the ball, and he's going to score a touchdown. And now you see, once you get somebody, even with that amazing talent, up to the level of the NFL, where he looks human now, he hasn't been as fast and have as much escapability. So I think I would like to see him get the ball a little more. But again, I think the way to go right now is to really focus on the run game. And again, our offensive line too. I mean, there's some concerns there. You want everybody to be healthy, but running the ball is going to weigh more on them as well. So you got to consider that going forward.
Looking at the Super Bowl prediction, who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who wins the game? And what is the final score?
Well, by some miracle, it'd be even a greater miracle than what we had a couple years back. I'd love it to be the Birds, but if I'm stepping out of my Eagles fandom and just kind of looking at it from a sports analysis perspective, I really think Green Bay, Kansas City is looking pretty clear right now. And I think Aaron Rodgers is playing, and, he's become a polarizing figure in the NFL because of the COVID stuff. And so however anybody feels about Aaron Rodgers, but I think he's playing with a renewed passion since that happened and since he came back from all that. So I really see him winning another Super Bowl, and maybe he decides to step away from the game after doing that. He just broke Brett Favre's record. So I'm thinking Packers, Chiefs, and I'm taking the Packers 31-17. That's what I'm going with.
That might actually be the biggest margin of victory I've had in these predictions so far, because everybody's saying within 3 to 7 points with their predictions of who it is, regardless of who they picked, whether it's Kansas City, whether it's Tampa, whether it's Green Bay, whether it's some people's opinion Dallas, whether it's some people's opinion that it could be the Rams. Everybody's picking within 3 to 7 points.
Yeah, and I heard too, I was reading one article about New England, Tampa Bay, and having Belichick and Brady going at it. But who knows? I'm just glad, again, just the way the past 2 years have been, I'm glad we've gotten this far. These past couple of weeks, it was getting sketchy with games being postponed and COVID, rearing its ugly head again. But just as a sports fan in general, I'm just glad that we're able to get this far. I'm grateful to be talking to you and enjoying this distraction, because that's what it is, right? I mean, sports is always a healthy distraction from the world around us. And I think we need it more than ever with what's going on. So the playoffs are going to be exciting to watch regardless, and especially coming down the stretch here. And hopefully the Eagles can make some things happen. But it gives me hope as an Eagles fan for next season in any event that we're still in the conversation.
Tom, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I wanted to do this before we wrap this up. Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone, anything you wanted to promote? What are ways people can reach out to you on social media to talk Eagles football?
Well, if I can mention, go check out the film Maybe This Year. This is actually the Philly special. If you take a look on the back there, this is the shirt. But they changed the name of the documentary, and my good friend Barry Vagnoni, him and his wife, actually, they're just recovering from COVID. They've been pretty sick, but they're getting better. So I wish them much love and go Birds. And if you ever get a chance to visit, if you're an Eagles fan, he's got this incredible man cave. Parks Casino is running a contest right now. So go check that. You can vote for his Eagles man cave. You can find me on WFMZ 69 News. I'm the reporter there for the 5:30 and 10:30. Twitter, Tom Rader TV, Tom Rader Media on Instagram. So check me out there and say hi. And let's enjoy the rest of this football season, Earl. I really appreciate it, man.